Hi, I'm Laura. Welcome to Hedgehog Homestead. If you're joining me for this video, we've already started on our chicken here, and we have some bone-in meat, and then we're going to also process some regular chicken breasts without the bone. So we're going to start with our bone-in meat. Now these will process at different times, so I'm actually going to can them not in the same canner, because the bone-in meat, and I'm looking here in my ball book, and I do recommend you guys, if you're doing a canning recipe or something like that, get a ball book or a good canning guide. Ball also has they have a website that you can look at, and they also have a YouTube channel that you can follow, because canning is something that you really need to take serious. We're going to be pressure canning these today, and food safety is something that we need to be very serious about. So take your time and look up the right time, the right amount of pressure, because it does change. If you're at a higher altitude, you need to add time. But I'm just starting today. For bone-in, it's different than it is. So for boneless chicken, actually, you have to cook for 75 minutes at 10 pounds of pressure. But bone-in chicken, you do for 65 minutes at 10 pounds of pressure. So I don't want overcooked chicken because I'm raw packing these guys, okay? So my bone-in meat, I'm going to put in a quart-sized jar, and then my chicken breasts, I'm going to put in a pint-sized jar too. So that's different too. So I'm going to go ahead and start packing these in, and I'm going to see how much I want to leave, 1.5 inches of head space. So I wanted to separate the meat too, from dark meat to light meat. There. Okay, that actually looks good. So basically 1 chicken per jar for thighs and drums. So that works out perfectly. Okay, so we have 2 thighs and 2 drums in 1 jar. And we can add a little salt to this. You don't have to do that. Some people add broth to it, but you don't need to do any of that, guys. I like to put a pinch of salt in, so I'm just going to put that aside. And then I'm going to cut up my chicken breasts. And I have the pint-sized jars for that. Let me get a different knife, a bigger one. There we go. Something with a little, since it's a slippery meat, I like to have a little serrated. It's always good to. So I have never done the boned-in meat before, so you're experimenting with me here. There's a lot of other homesteaders that do that, so I thought I'd try that, because we're trying to make room in our freezer for our turkeys that we're growing out. But I have I have done plenty of chicken breasts, and we like it so much better than the chicken breast or the chicken meat that is canned in the store. We have had chicken breasts in the fridge or in the freezer too long, and we just, okay, let's can it now. And we love it to make chicken salad sandwiches, pot pie, all those recipes that call for cooked meat. It's all ready to go. So I'm excited to see what the dark meat tastes like when we do this. So again, we're just going to cut up, and you want them cut just like you're doing any kind of cooking. When you're cooking a recipe, you want all your bites at the same size because it cooks better that way. And it looks like we're probably going to be able to get 2 breasts in each pint-sized jar. Now, I do recommend that if you're going to do this, maybe you just want to do a whole chicken and try it from the grocery store, and now you know how to cut one up to save some money. You know, like if we ever have a meat crisis again, like we did, and they were saying we could only buy one. Well, you know, if the whole chicken is cheaper, now you know how to cut it up, right? But if you have a bunch of chicken breasts, or you bought a bunch of chicken breasts and you need your freezer space, now you know how to, now we're learning how to preserve it on our shelf, and we can put it in some great recipes like chicken salad and pot pie and anything else that calls for that. Those are the 2 things I like to make with it. But I have used Tatler lids with chicken, and it worked fine. You just really got to make sure you clean off those jars really good. With any kind of meat, there can be a lot of fat that vents from the jar. And so guys, you want to really make sure that you and wipe those jars really clean afterwards. Not right away. You're going to wait until they've been sitting for about 12 hours or until they've cooled. You don't want to touch them when they're hot. I'm going to leave an inch of headspace. I might be able to put a little more in there. With the thighs, they say 1.5 inches, so that's what I'm doing with that one. A problem doing 1 inch with the chicken breasts, so but if you feel safer using the 1.5 inches, please feel free to do that. You always want at least 1 inch when you're pressure canning. So I am going to be doing some more canning videos, especially as food comes out of the garden. My next canning video will be a nice simple, so because I'm doing this on a smaller scale. So first we're going to do, since our bone in is faster, it's 65 minutes. We're going to do those first. Now, you guys can get all of the tools that I'm using on Amazon. This is a canning kit right here, okay? Just so you guys know. So first we're going to do, before we put our lids on these jars, is we're going to wipe off the jars around the rims with vinegar, okay? You don't have to put water in there. A lot of people like to put broth in here. They like to put other things in here, a little water. This is going to make its own broth, okay? So you don't need to do that, okay? And then you're going to center the lid on there. And then you're just going to put the ring on there, finger tight. No more than that, guys. Okay? I have my pressure canner on the stove. I have 2 inches of water in there. I've pre-washed these lids and rings. Okay? And then to put them, oh, I forgot my one tool. These amazing grabbers, you cannot live without them in canning. So I got the lid on there. Because this is a cold pack or a raw pack, this meat is not hot. There's no water in here, so it's not hot. So I'm going to go ahead and put my food in the canner while it is cold. And so I want my canner to be cold, and then it will come up to pressure together. If you don't do that, then it will crack your jar. I just place it down in there. Okay guys, welcome to Hedgehog's Homestead. We are back. Yesterday we started a project and we started cooking our boned in chicken. And this is our thighs and our drumsticks that we cut up yesterday. So you'll be able to see that video before this one if you need to know how to cut up a whole chicken. So this canning project turned out well. I finished this one last night. And we cut everything up together. So we're back, and what I'm going to show you now is we're going to can the chicken breasts together. So you guys have that understanding of how the pressure cooker works. The boneless chicken turned out well. One thing that it makes its own juices. You can see here the nice juice, and this one is kind of gelled up, and it's because we left the bones in the chicken for this. And so this is a nice jelly chickeny broth. So what we're going to show you is that when these cans have cooled and now it's the next day, I'm going to go ahead and wipe these cans down with soapy water and just wash that up really good, especially if you're using, well, any kind of lid. Meat tends to drain a little bit in the pressure cooking process. So it's just nice to get that can nice and clean. And the reason why you don't want any dirt or any of that seepage that happened during the canning process to start to build up and mold underneath this rim, because that's where problems start, and you can get botulism and that kind of crazy stuff that you always hear about. Take care of the cans very well and you'll be safe. So not to worry, but be aware. And awareness brings us safety. So if I ever see a can, and it happened to me one time with a Tatler lid where this is a regular can lid. Also, you're going to check on these cans that they're on there good and secure, okay? Both of these are on here very good and secure. They're nice and clean underneath. I always fill the rim underneath to make sure that there's no debris, food debris left. And we will put a date on those because that's important. These are good for a year in storage. So we want to put our date on there, month, date, and year, so we know how long this is good for. Okay, now we are going to can. Oh, and by the way, we cooked these for 75 minutes as soon as we got to the pressure on our pressure gauge of 10 pounds. Now that's what I'm going to show you with these guys. Now, boned in chicken and boneless chicken is cooked at a different length. But because this is a quart size and this is a pint size, the pints always go longer. So we will also cook these for 75 minutes in our pressure cooker. Now I'm going to bring you in closer to our pressure cooker and we will get to it. I'm going to turn my oven or my stove on high, and my water is cold and my pan is cold, or my cans are cold and my water's cold, so they can come up to temperature at the same time. If this was already hot, you don't want to put your jars in here because you put hot and hot, cold and cold, okay? So now we've got our lids on. I'll go back to that video. You guys can see how we did that. Of course, that will be before this. So some of it is filmed yesterday and the rest of it's filmed today. Now, so we have our 2 jars of boneless chicken breast in there. We're gonna line up our lid. I also have about 2 inches of water in mine. Each pressure can is a little bit different, so you guys are gonna watch for that. On my canner, I have a little V shape here and it says close open on there. And on this handle over here, it's got a little V shape. So to lock this on, I'm gonna put those V shapes together so that they're facing each other, and then I'm gonna twist. Okay? Now, we're just gonna let that come up, and you're gonna start to see this says top and this says top. These are both gonna rise up, and then it's gonna start steaming out of here. Once it starts steaming out of here, we put on a timer for 10 minutes. When that timer goes off, we put on our weight. Now, I only have a 15-pound weight, so I have to pay close attention to my gauge here, okay? Because we only want to cook this at 10 pounds of pressure. It's a little harder to adjust with a 15-pound weight, but you have to have a weight on there. I have been waiting for a weight. I might have to reorder it, a 10-pound weight for this pressure canner because it only came with a 15-pound. So our next step is just now. We got our lid on there good. We got our 2 inches of water. Now we're just gonna wait for this to steam. We will be right back as soon as that starts happening, and I'll show you guys what to look for next. Okay guys, we are back and this is starting to steam. So as soon as it gets to a steady steam, which will be any second here, this little top has popped up. This one will pop up any second. It's got a little water on it. This is steaming. I don't know if you guys can see it better that way or if I just keep my hand away. And in just a few minutes, we'll start a timer for 10 minutes. Okay. That looks like a pretty steady steam there, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and now I'm going to put on a timer. Siri, give me a timer for 10 minutes.
Okay, 10 minutes and counting.
As soon as it has steamed for 10 minutes, we're going to put our weight on. Okay guys, it's been 10 minutes. Now we're going to put on our 15-pound weight for the pressure. I wish I had a 10-pound. I haven't been able to get a hold of one with all this crazy ordering stuff going on and things not coming on time. So I'm going to have to use my gauge to watch for 10 pounds and keep it at 10 pounds. It's going to want to go to 15 pounds because it's got a 15-pound weight on. You can't do it without the weight, so that's why I'm using a 15-pound. So if this was a 10-pound weight, this would waddle back and forth when it got to 10 pounds. If it's waddling just nice, that's good. If it's going really crazy, then it's too high. So then you have to turn down your heat a little bit and just until it starts waddling nicely, because that's the perfect amount of pressure. So I'm going to watch my gauge. Right now we're at 6 pounds of pressure since I put the weight on, and we will be right back and I'll show you how I manage that pressure with a 15-pound gauge or a 15-pound weight. I just watch it very closely, and So we will be back in just a minute, guys. Okay, guys, we are back. This is almost at 15 pounds of pressure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to now put my pot on medium. It was on high. We don't want it to go to 15 pounds of pressure. That's too much. And now we can start our timer. We have to stop our timer if it gets below 10 pounds. So if you have a waddler on your pot and it's stopped waddling, you have to start all over. So see how that's starting to waddle? That's because it's getting to 15 pounds. We want to turn it down. We want 10 pounds. Takes a minute to chill out a little bit. Okay, give me a 75-minute timer.
Okay, 1 hour, 15 minutes, and counting.
Okay, and so now I'm just going to watch this. And we want this to go down, and I'm fine with it sitting right at 12. I don't like it sitting right at 10 because I notice with this pot that's just too close. It can easily slip down below that. And now my temperature gauge on my stove is in between medium and low, and that's usually where my pot, when I'm using a 15-pound pressure and trying to do 10 pounds, likes to sit at. So it's stopping waddling now, so it is coming down a little bit. Okay, guys, we will come back. I am going to be watching this kind of like a hawk, just, you know, every few seconds coming back in here and getting my eye on this thing to make sure it stays, because I don't want to start that 75 minutes all over again. I hope that you guys have a 10-pound weight so that you guys don't have to watch your pot as closely. I do like when I'm cooking something at 15 pounds of pressure because I don't have to watch as closely. It's kind of nice because you have that audible sound telling you you're okay. So. Okay, guys, we'll be right back. So I'm going to turn it down just a little bit more. It is dropping down. It is dropping down a little bit here again. So I will be right back. If it starts weighing too much, you just really want to keep it there. You don't want it. I really would like it at 12, but I think you always turn down your knob a little bit unless it's way too high. The only time that I'm going to crank this thing down to low really fast or almost off if it's getting in this scary range where it says caution, or it's got a red band here, or it's just going nuts. I'm not going to take the pressure off quickly. So it is still dropping a little bit. So I'm not going to mess with the gauge anymore. I'm just you just want subtle movements on your gauges. You don't want to go too hog wild on that because it can change your pressure in the negative too quick. I have not touched it since we left, and it was almost at 15 pounds of pressure. It was like probably 14 pounds of pressure when we left last time. So now we're back and it's at 11 pounds. Now I'm going to add a little more heat to that, just a pinch, because if that drops below, I got to start my timer all over again, and who wants to do that? So I'm more comfortable with it sitting right at 12 pounds of pressure, and right now it's at 11. So that's just my comfort zone, guys, and because I'm watching it really good, why I caught that, and it didn't drop below, but it's still kind of sitting there. So I'll be watching this even closer than I was, and we'll just kind of play with it. I'll come back to you guys if I have to adjust it again, okay? Which I haven't even stopped the camera, but I know that it has dropped even since then, so I'm going to add just a little more heat Just a pinch, guys. Now I'm going to watch it again. You can tell that it is coming up a little bit more because of how my pot's reacting. I can hear the boil. Still sitting there, just barely at 11, almost 10. So I think I'm going to go ahead and add, it's been a bit, so I'm going to go ahead and add just a little more heat. Just barely moving my dial each time. Okay guys, my timer is going off, so we're going to turn that off. And all we need to do at this point is, all we're going to do is just turn off the heat, okay? And then when this tab over here, I don't know if you guys can see that, there's a little thing that's popped up over here and one here. When that drops down and this gauge is all the way down, then I am going to remove my weight here, and then I can release my lid. You do not want to do anything with this. You don't want to pull this off. You don't want to do any of that until this gauge is totally down and these two indicators are down, because you can burn yourself with what will come out of there, okay? And it will come out too fast. What happens when pressure canner, the temperature drops too fast, you can have a jar break. So just let it be. It's going to take probably another 30 minutes or longer for it to calm down. And we'll see you guys back when that happens. And then we will take out, I will show you guys how I remove my lid, because even at that point it is very hot and very steamy. You always want to pick up your lid and move it away from you. So we'll be back in just a few minutes. Guys, our pressure gauge is at 0, still hot, like I said. Now we can take off our weight. No steam coming out of there. Both of our little knobbies are down. Now we're just going to twist this open. And we're going to remove our lid. I always like to use oven mitts, that's why they were sitting there. I kind of shake off the lid and I put it in my sink. Now these jars are boiling inside here still, so they're very hot. Okay, now I'm going to take out my tongs. These are jar tongs. You can get a whole kit of jar tongs and little, just a whole canning kit of stuff at on Amazon. You can check that out. And there is our chicken, guys. I don't know if you can see. Look at all that liquid in there. There was no liquid in here to start, but this has made all that liquid. Okay guys, I was only doing 2 cans just to show you how to can chicken. So that's it. Now we're just going to let these sit overnight until the next day. They will bubble for up to 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours still. I'm not going to take the rings off, but when I do tomorrow, I'll take the rings off just like I showed you guys with those other cans. I'll take the rings off. I'm going to test the lids and I'm going to wash around the top. And most of the time I just kind of wash up the whole can, because there can be some seepage in the process, and that's totally normal. Now, my next canning video will be beans. So look for that one. That will probably be next week sometime. I just heard a pop. That's the audible sound. The audible sound of popping is it sealing. So that's a good sound. So look for that video. There's the other one. So they're both sealed. Isn't that great? I have one other video of canning, but I'll be canning next week. Look for the video where I'm canning green beans, and I'll do a whole series of canning for you guys. I also have a bread series that I'm working on. I have sourdough breads and regular breads, so look for those videos as well. I have, if you guys are going to can whole chickens, I have how to cut up a whole chicken. I have a video for that, and I'll link that below in the description, a link for that video. And still bubbling. Oh, but if you guys are going to can, you can can any kind of chicken. You're going to do whole with the bones in it, without the bones. You can do both of those. So just look for those recipes. Make sure you follow a good guide like the Ball book, or look online, pressurecanning.com. I mean, there's other things that you can look up so that it's the size of the container and what's in the container and how you're canning it will give you your time. And so it's really good to look up those times, and especially for pressure canning, well, for both canning. So the next video will also be a pressure canning video, but I will have some just water bath canning. I do have a water bath canning, so if you want to kind of see how that goes, I do have a water bath canning where I am canning. So I do have and I'll link that below too, so you guys can check that out if you want. And I do have some videos, and I will be doing some videos where I will also be doing some Tatler lids and some regular, because it is harder to find regular lids nowadays. So that's that, guys. So look for those other videos coming up, and I hope to see you next time we do one of these, or one of my other homesteading videos with all the animals, or gardening videos, or anything else. Thank you for coming along with me today. Please like and subscribe, and you guys always have a great day, and God bless.